Are you spending hours coding or practicing a skill but feel like you're still stuck? Imagine getting to the end of the year having worked so hard but not feeling like you've progressed anywhere. It's really frustrating, but the truth is there's often a mismatch between what we think we're doing and what we're actually doing, or what we think we need to do versus what we actually need to do to see that progress. The problem isn't how much time you're putting in, it's how you're using that time. Most people plateau with a skill because they don't know the right way to progress, they don't know how to use that time to practice efficiently. In this video, I'll take you through proven ways to break through plateaus and finally see the progress you've been working so hard for. We'll talk about the strategies that top performers use to get better, faster. These ideas will completely change your approach to learning and will finally be able to help you progress in that particular area or skill that you've been wanting to improve in. Hey, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Becca. I'm a full-time software engineer, part-time Pilates instructor, and someone with multiple interests and multiple passions. I love sharing videos on bits of my life, insights into my career, tips on productivity, and a whole lot more. So if you're interested, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. But let's get straight into the video. Now, I definitely wasn't the smartest in my degree program. I studied maths at uni and I was surrounded by some incredibly intelligent people from all over the world. I definitely wasn't the smartest in the room, but I worked so damn hard. And it was that hard work, it was that consistent effort, consistent practice that got me the first in maths. Genetics might play a role in your potential, but they do not define your performance or your abilities. What matters most is what you do with the time that you do have. And the same is absolutely true for software engineering or any skill really. If you want to improve and become a better engineer, it's not about being naturally gifted. It's about where you focus your time and your energy. You need to focus in on the right areas, practice with intention, and use techniques that are proven to work. In this video, I'm going to talk you through how you can apply these principles to your own learning so you can start making real progress. So let's get straight into talking about what these techniques actually are. Firstly, to get better at coding, it sounds obvious, but you actually need to code. And to get better at software engineering, you need to practice the skills that make you a better software engineer. Just like learning to drive or learning to ride a bike, learning to play a sport, coding is something that's best learned by doing. You can read books and watch videos, but this passive learning is only going to get you so far. That learning by itself will not lead to progress without the practice. And we can go one step further than that. We don't just need practice, we need deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is a term coined by psychologist K. Anders Ericsson. It is defined as the individualized training activities specifically designed by a coach or teacher to improve specific aspects of an individual's performance through repetition and successive refinement. So essentially, deliberate practice refers to a specific type of practice that is purposeful and systematic. You won't get better by just doing bits of random code here and there. You may see some improvement, but it won't be as fast or in the right direction that you're looking for. When most people practice, they focus on the things they can already do. Deliberate practice is different. It focuses on two types of areas. Firstly, by improving the skills that you already do have, but then secondly, extending the reach and range of your skills by focusing on things that you can't do. Again, genetics is just our starting point, but this doesn't have to be where it stops. Deliberate practice can help us maximize our potential no matter our starting point. People talk about the 10,000 hour rule, and this was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers. And while I agree that it does take a considerable amount of time to be an expert at something, I don't think this is the only thing that's involved. I think that this rule is a bit of an oversimplification of what it takes to really learn something, and the hours put in are not the only factor. The hours are going to be different for everyone, and it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. When people hear this 10,000 hour rule, They just think of those 10,000 hours, but they don't think about the type of work that needs to go into those hours. And I think this is more crucial. We need to focus on the quality rather than just the quantity. Deliberate practice, on the other hand, is focused and specific to what you want to achieve. It's deliberate, so there's intention behind every practice session that you do have. You can really zone in and be present with your learning, and this will lead to far greater results. So, how can you start applying this deliberate practice? First of all, pick one thing. Pick one skill that you really want to improve on and really narrow it down. Then, block out some time to deliberately practice that one thing. For example, as a software engineer, say you want to get better at understanding how queues work. Dedicate some time to understand maybe how Kafka topics work or how producers and consumers work and all the different elements of queue-based systems and messages, events, all of those things that go into it, and dedicate some time just around that specific subject. Or maybe you want to better understand how recursion works, so dedicate some time just to focus on recursion, solving problems around that, and then making them progressively harder as the time goes on. The next aspect is setting yourself stretch goals. Setting yourself little tasks that are just beyond your comfort zone. So nothing too easy that you're really comfortable with it, and nothing too hard that it feels completely out of reach. Something just at the right level. So for example, say you're a software engineer and you're comfortable with basic CRUD operations. See if you can push it a little further and build a full feature API that has a lot more complex business logic involved. And then for deliberate practice to work, we need feedback along the way. Feedback is crucial for improvements, and especially in collaborative environments. In coding, having tests is a great way to get that feedback. Having tests allows you to see whether what you're doing is incorrect or not, and you get this instant feedback loop. Then there's also discussions that you can have with your managers, with your teammates, with your colleagues, with people around you, with even communities online. You can constantly ask for feedback everywhere. When you do code reviews at work, ask people to give you detailed feedback. And don't be afraid of asking for this. And treat all of them as learning opportunities as well. And even just documenting your own journey, documenting your practices, your learnings, and even your small wins along the way really help track your progress and show yourself how far you've come. Deliberate practice is about pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. It's about focusing on specific areas that challenge you. But it's important to recognize that not all practice is created equal. Growth mindset expert Eduardo Bracino, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, explores the idea of these two different mental states, the learning zone and the performance zone. And not having knowledge of these two different zones might help explain why you're not improving. The performance zone is when we focus on the things we know how to do. It's when we focus on doing them to the best of our ability without mistakes. We're performing here. The learning zone, on the other hand, is all about improvements. It's when we take risks, try new things, ask questions, ask for feedback, and it's when we focus on just exploring rather than perfection. The problem why many people don't improve when they reach a certain level is they don't spend enough time in that learning zone. They spend all their time in the performing zone and are scared to move back to the learning stage. They're scared to go back and make those mistakes. The way to high performance is to alternate between these two different zones. So when we're in the performance zone, we need to notice what mistakes we're making. We need to notice our areas of weakness and the areas we need to improve in, so that we can bring those areas with us when we next go back to that learning zone. We can really focus down on those and we know what we need to practice. The best chess players, for example, spend most of their time not playing chess, but analysing what their opponents are going to do and figuring out what they can do to counteract that. So what does this look like for software engineers? Firstly, I want you to analyse your work. I want you to regularly review your work and spot those areas of weakness. Spot those areas that you need to improve in. Maybe are you weak at writing tests? Are you weak at design patterns or your code readability? Whatever it is, figure that out first. That's the first step. And then secondly, allocate yourself some learning time. You need to set aside some regular learning time that's distraction-free, that's just for that skill improvement. For example, maybe set aside 30 minutes a day to focus on that one thing you want to focus on. Maybe it's learning a new database system or literally anything, and it can change each time, but as long as that little block of time is dedicated to just that one thing. And the third thing is to experiment without pressure. I want to use those side projects to really experiment and use them as playgrounds to play around with unfamiliar technologies or new technologies that you want to learn. For example, maybe if you're unfamiliar with Docker, maybe you want to learn Docker by containerizing an application that you already have existing. And leading on from this idea of experimenting without pressure, I think one thing that's really important is allowing ourselves to make mistakes. I think mistakes are crucial if we want to improve. Mistakes are a learning opportunity, especially in a technical field. So you need to let yourself know mentally that mistakes are allowed and mistakes will actually benefit you rather than hinder you. Let yourself know that failure is an option. So how can we use our mistakes as a software engineer? For example, if there are errors in the code, use that debugging process to really learn something from it. View debugging as a chance to learn from your mistakes and deepen your understanding. So maybe instead of Googling the answer straight away, really trace through your code step by step, try and figure out where the problem is and what you can do to fix it. Then after a bug fix or an incident, go back, reflect on it and figure out what caused it and what you can do next time to help prevent it in the future. And don't be afraid to write ugly first drafts. Don't be afraid to write messy code. Try and just get it working first in whatever way possible, and then later on you can refactor it and refine it. But the initial stages are all about experimenting, trying something new, and going in that learning zone before you then reach that performance zone. But I also think there's more to it than this. I think that sometimes at work we don't want to look stupid, or we don't want to look as if we don't know what we're doing, and we don't want to let other people see us making those mistakes. We don't allow ourselves to make mistakes because we don't want to embarrass ourselves, especially in front of other people. Firstly, everyone makes mistakes, and mistakes are completely normal. But even if we know that, and even if we feel like we're allowed to make mistakes because maybe we have a supportive manager and a supportive team, we still have this underlying pressure to get things right, an underlying pressure to look reliable and look competent and appear as if we never make mistakes. It might be a subconscious feeling, but it's in there somewhere, and there will always be something holding us back from making those mistakes. So that's why we need to dedicate time outside of work to work on side projects or projects that don't matter as much, to allow ourselves to make these mistakes, to allow ourselves to fail. So don't work on production code. Work on little side projects or things that won't have a big, massive impact if they go horribly wrong. Okay, let's quickly recap what we've talked about. So to become a better software engineer or to improve at any skill really, we need deliberate practice. And then we need to focus on that learning zone just as much as that performance zone. We need to ask for feedback, get as much feedback as you can from the people around you, but also from your own observations. And then we need to really allow ourselves to make mistakes and experiment throughout the whole process. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter in the right places. Now, don't just leave this video thinking about it or thinking that you'll get to it in the future. I want you to think about it now, take action, think about what area you can focus on specifically. Maybe there's a specific area of coding you want to improve, or a specific area of whatever skill or hobby or passion, work-related or not, that you want to improve on. And make sure you block out some time in your calendar to do some deliberate practice and focus with intention. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'd love to hear down below what skill you're working on, what you want to improve, or what you're going to spend some focused time on going forwards. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you next time.